Hey everyone, welcome to Professor Long's Lectures in Anatomy and Physiology. If you were watching my last video on the digestive system, you heard me complain a little bit because I realized the camera when I got to this model was cutting it off. Fortunately, most of the video is good and I'm not going to reshoot it. These videos sometimes it takes me 5 takes to get it right. And I don't have the editing software to edit it properly. So anyway, I'm continuing where the last digestive system video left off. This is our digestion lab, and we were covering this model, which is a model of the pancreas. These two models show the exact same thing, only one has a lot more anatomy to it, and it's a lot sexier in my opinion. So I'm going to take this model out, and to give you a little bit of perspective, I'm going to cover this model first, and then we're going to go back to this model. So let me move this out of the way for a second and focus in on the liver. Now the liver, if I tilt it up, you can see it has all these different sections. It has the gallbladder here. It has this little white line running across it. That line is called the falciform ligament. Falciform ligament. Now, our liver is divided into lobes, just like a lung is, and then it's divided into lobules. So if I look here where the falciform ligament is, this side would be called the left lobe, and this side would be called the right lobe, because it's the subject's right and left, not yours. They cut a big section of the right lobe out, and all of these little rings in here would be called lobules, or liver lobules. Now there's actually 4 lobes to the liver, so I'm going to tilt it up. Now I want to show you something. If you download the pictures from our class website, where you go into Canvas and you download all the images for practicing for lab, we actually have the picture sitting like this. And the reason is when you set it on the table, it sits better this way. If I try to flip it over, it falls. And so really it confuses people because this is the right lobe and this is the left lobe. If I were to tilt it up, I'm going to teach it this way. This would be the right lobe. This is where the falciform ligament ran, and this would be the left lobe. Between the gallbladder and where the falciform ligament would run, this actually has another name, but this is called the quadrate lobe from the word quattro, which means 4. So this is the quadrate lobe. This blood vessel, by the way, is the inferior vena cava, and you can see how the liver is very much wrapped around it. If I tilt it back a little bit more, this little lobe right here looks like a little thumb or like a dog's tail is tucked underneath. That's called the caudate lobe. So I can see the 4 lobes of the liver here. Left lobe, right lobe, caudate lobe, quadrate lobe. The quadrate lobe is next to the gallbladder. Now, it's very hard to see here, but there's some blood vessels and some other structures here. Now, blood flowing into the liver is going to come in through the hepatic artery. That would be oxygenated and nutrient-rich blood. But because a lot of our organs take nutrients and ions out of the blood and dump their trash into it, before I send my blood back to my heart and poison the heart, I need to send some of the blood into the liver as deoxygenated, dirty blood. And this would be the hepatic portal vein. So the hepatic artery, hepatic portal vein. Blood would run through the liver, get cleaned, and then it goes through the hepatic veins into the inferior vena cava. Next to the hepatic artery and hepatic portal vein is this green tube right here called the common hepatic duct. Now there's going to be a bunch of ducts here, and I don't know how well you can see it on this model from my video, but I'm going to try to show you. The right lobe will drain bile through this little piece of this green tube right here. That is called this is the left lobe. That's called the left hepatic duct. The right lobe, since this is right and left, would drain through here. The right and the quadrate lobe are going to drain bile through this tube called the right hepatic duct. Those two fuse into this little Y-shaped green structure. So I have the right hepatic duct, the left hepatic duct, and then this one right here is called the common hepatic duct. Now, as bile flows through here, it's going to get dumped into this tube, which would go all the way around and dump into the small intestine. That's called the common hepatic duct. The common bile duct. So right hepatic duct, left hepatic duct, common hepatic duct, common bile duct. Now, the common bile duct happens to be where the common hepatic and the cystic duct fuse. The gallbladder is a cyst, it's a bag of fluid called the cholecystic organ, and so this is referred to as the cystic duct. So the cystic duct and the common hepatic duct fuse together to form the common bile duct. And of course, the common bile duct is going to come down and dump into the small intestine. So a quick review. Right lobe, liver lobules. Left lobe, and then that's the falciform ligament. If I flip it, I still have the right and left lobe. This is the quadrate lobe, that's the caudate lobe. I have the hepatic artery and the hepatic portal vein, and then I have the right and left hepatic ducts, the common hepatic duct, the common bile duct, and the cystic duct leading to the gallbladder. Now, one of my favorite models. This is the pancreas here. This is the spleen. I can see two kidneys back here. I can see the adrenal glands or suprarenal organs. This is the duodenum. And I even have a piece of the liver, the brown structure, and the gallbladder here. This model may show you those ducts a little bit better. Let me make sure I'm all lined up in my field of view the way that I want to be. And actually, I'm going to zoom in on this model a little bit more. Sorry if you're getting dizzy as I move the camera, but I really want to show you this detail. Okay? So now, let me run through this again. This brown structure is part of the liver. This is the gallbladder. I can see some of the ducts that I just went over. I have the two kidneys, the adrenal glands, the pancreas, the spleen, and the duodenum or small intestine. So this would be the head of the pancreas. This would be the body of the pancreas. This would be the tail of the pancreas. I can see the pancreatic duct, this long white tube running here. It coils around, and that's all pancreatic duct. This little white section here is called the accessory duct. This would be the duodenum, and I can see the plica in here, each of the plici or plici. Now, I want to focus in on this part. So here I see the gallbladder, and then this would be called the cystic duct. The cystic duct, by the way, has all these little channels in it that the fluid has to drain through. And as we absorb water from bile, the salts in bile can crystallize and form gallstones from the gallbladder. The gallstones can get trapped in one of those openings. I can push fluid in, push the stone out of the way and put fluid in, but when it comes out, the stone will block it again, and the gallbladder can fill up but never empty and can rupture, which could be life-threatening. So when someone has gallstones, it's just little salt crystals that can block these, block these passages. Now, if this is the liver, this would be the right hepatic duct and the left hepatic duct and the common hepatic duct. This is the cystic duct. Where the common hepatic duct and the cystic duct meet is the common bile duct. The common bile duct runs behind here, and then it's this green tube that continues right here. That's part of your common bile duct. It turns out that the pancreatic duct and the common bile duct both dump into that same opening. That's called the major papilla, or the major duodenal papilla, and that's the minor papilla, where the accessory duct empties into the small intestine. So there's a lot of anatomy going on there, but you should know all of these structures. Liver, gallbladder, the cystic duct, the right and left hepatic ducts, the common hepatic duct, the common bile duct. You should know the duodenum, plici, the minor and the major papilla, pancreatic duct, the accessory duct, the white line, and then the green part is the common hepatic duct. Sorry, the common bile duct. I said that wrong. So I hope you understood all that anatomy. The very last thing I want to show you is this, and then we should be finishing with the digestive system. I'm going to go back to this model. Let me make sure it's in my field of view and you can focus in on it very, very well. Yeah, you can. So, I can see the end of the small intestine here called the ileum. This opening would be called the ileocecal valve. This is the cecum and the appendix. And of course we would have the haustra, the tinea coli, and I can see the descending colon here. The little pockets or bumps are called haustra, and the line would be called the tinea coli. I would have to lift the small intestine to see the sigmoid colon back there. This tube is called the rectum, and the opening would be called the anus. Now, there are two rings of muscle around this. One of those rings of muscle is called the external anal sphincter. And then this inner lining right here is called the internal anal sphincter. You can see this little dark reddish lining. That's internal anal sphincter and the external anal sphincter. And those muscles can control when we release things or not. Now, I believe we've covered all of the digestive system models. So, I hope you learned something. I hope you had as much fun as I did. And I want you to cover this stuff, print the pictures, label them, do it till you can't stand it, then do it 5 more times. Or do it till you understand it, and then do it till you can teach it to someone else. It's the only way you can learn the anatomy. And memorization can be done by anybody. You just, as long as you have a hippocampus, and you just have to do it through repetition, 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 repetition. Do it over and over and over. I'm going to remind you all one more time something I teach a lot in Part 1 A and P. Your brain can only remember between 5 and 7 things. So don't go over long lists. Break up a model into 5 to 7 things. Repeat them in the same order till you can't stand it. Then do 5 or 7 more. Then go back to the beginning and see if you can do all 10 or so. If you can make 100, then you add 5 more and see if you can do all 15. Then add 5 more and see if you can do all 20. If you do it in small chunks and repeat the small chunks over and over and over and over in the same order, you'll learn it much more quickly. You'll learn to memorize much more rapidly. Anyway, again, I hope you had as much fun as I did. I'm enjoying this as much as I possibly can. I hope you are too. If not, this will be torture. Anyway, see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.